Welcome back to my channel USA's Dark Secrets. If you are here for raw, real stories of betrayal and hard choices, hit subscribe and let US know where you are tuning in from. The air was heavy with unspoken tension as the evening unfolded into a series of events I could never have anticipated. My wife, the woman I had shared dreams, love, and a home with, approached me with a request that felt like a dagger to my very core. She wanted a night to herself, a date night, as she called it. Not with me, but with the freedom to explore her space, her desires, outside the boundaries of our marriage. The word stung, echoing in my mind as I tried to comprehend the implications. Was it a casual request, or did it harbor a deeper betrayal? I've always prided myself on being understanding, on giving her the room to grow and flourish as an individual. But this was different. Her eyes, usually filled with warmth, now carried a spark of defiance, a silent challenge that I couldn't ignore. "It's just one night," she said, her voice calm, almost too calm. "I need this for me, for her." And where did that leave me? As she awaited my response, a storm of emotions brewed within me. Betrayal, anger, confusion, they all swirled together, leaving me grappling for clarity. How could she ask for something like this, and why now? Questions plagued my thoughts, but none were louder than the growing suspicion that there was more to her request than she let on. Reluctantly, I gave her the freedom she sought, masking my turmoil with a facade of indifference. "Do what you feel you need to," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. But in truth, I was far from indifferent. If she wanted a night of freedom, I would give her that, but not without consequences. As she left the house that evening, dressed to the nines and exuding an air of excitement that cut through me like a knife, I set my plan into motion. If she thought she could pursue her desires unchecked, she was sorely mistaken. My mind raced with possibilities, each more cunning and calculated than the last. Revenge wasn't merely an act of spite. It was a necessity to reclaim the balance she had disrupted. The first step was to gather information. While she was out, presumably meeting someone else under the guise of space, I delved into her digital world. Her phone, her messages, her social media. Every detail became a piece of the puzzle I was determined to solve. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. Messages exchanged with a man whose name I didn't recognize painted a picture of emotional intimacy and secret rendezvous. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a night for herself. It was a calculated betrayal. Anger surged through me, but I didn't let it consume me. Instead, I channeled it into precision. If she wanted to play games, I would show her that I was the master of the board. I compiled the evidence meticulously, ensuring that every piece would serve a purpose in the unfolding drama. But this wasn't just about exposing her deceit. It was about making her realize the gravity of her actions. The following day, she returned home as if nothing had happened, her demeanor light and carefree. It was almost insulting how easily she assumed she could deceive me. I played along, feigning ignorance while biding my time. But the tension was palpable, an undercurrent that neither of us acknowledged. She had no idea what was coming. My revenge began subtly, almost imperceptibly. I started planting seeds of doubt in her mind, mirroring the confusion and unease she had inflicted upon me. Small acts, misplaced items, cryptic remarks created an atmosphere of uncertainty. She began to question her reality, her confidence faltering as she sensed a shift she couldn't quite pinpoint. As the days turned into weeks, my plan unfolded with meticulous precision. I orchestrated scenarios that exposed her secrets in ways she couldn't deny. A chance encounter with a man she had been messaging left her visibly shaken, her composure crumbling under the weight of her lies. The look on her face was a mixture of shock and guilt, a silent admission of her betrayal. But I didn't stop there. I wanted her to feel the full extent of the pain she had caused, to understand the depth of her actions. I revealed the evidence I had gathered, confronting her with the truth she had tried to conceal. Her attempts to deny, to deflect, were futile against the mountain of proof I presented. The walls she had built around her deception came crashing down, leaving her exposed and vulnerable in that moment. As she stood before me, tears streaming down her face, I felt a sense of vindication. But it wasn't just about retribution. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my sense of self. She had underestimated me, believing that her actions would go unnoticed or unchallenged. But I had shown her that I was not to be trifled with. Our relationship would never be the same. Trust, once shattered, is not easily rebuilt. But in exposing her betrayal, I had reclaimed my power, my agency. She had sought freedom at the expense of our marriage, but in doing so, she had lost the very foundation of what we had built together. The aftermath was a period of reflection, of grappling with the choices we had made and the consequences they had wrought. She begged for forgiveness, for another chance to make things right. But could I ever truly forgive her? Could I move past the betrayal and rebuild what had been broken? These were questions I would have to answer in time. For now, I was content in the knowledge that I had stood my ground, that I had not let her actions go unanswered. The journey ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. I would never again allow myself to be blindsided by deceit. I had learned a valuable lesson about trust, about boundaries, and about the strength it takes to confront betrayal head-on. And in the end, I emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. But the story didn't end there. The revelation of her betrayal had opened a Pandora's box of emotions and decisions. Even as I stood firm in my resolve, the days that followed were anything but simple. Every interaction between us was laden with unspoken words, a dance of guilt and suspicion. I could see it in her eyes, the desperate yearning to turn back time, to undo the choices that had led us to this precipice. And yet, the damage had been done, and there was no erasing the scars that I found myself questioning everything I had believed about our marriage. Had there been other secrets, other betrayals that I had been too blind to see? The doubt gnawed at me, threatening to consume the remnants of trust that lingered in my heart. To protect myself, I began keeping my own secrets, erecting walls that she could not penetrate. It was a defense mechanism, a way to shield myself from further pain. But in doing so, I wondered if I was becoming the very thing I despised. She, on the other hand, embarked on a relentless mission to prove her remorse. She showered me with gestures of affection, words of apology that seemed sincere yet insufficient. She sought counseling, both individually and as a couple, urging me to join her in the pursuit of healing. Part of me admired her determination, her willingness to confront her mistakes head-on. But another part of me resisted, unwilling to let go of the anger and hurt that had become my armor. As the weeks turned into months, the tension between us began to ease, though it never fully disappeared. We navigated the complexities of rebuilding our relationship with cautious steps, each of us wary of triggering the other's pain. There were moments of genuine connection, fleeting glimpses of the love we had once shared. But there were also setbacks, arguments that reignited the wounds we were trying to mend. It was a turbulent journey, one that tested the limits of our endurance. Amidst the chaos, I began to rediscover myself. The betrayal had shattered my sense of identity, leaving me adrift in a sea of doubt and insecurity. But as I confronted the pain, I found strength in my resilience, in my ability to endure and adapt. I pursued new hobbies, reconnected with old friends, and focused on personal growth. It was a process of rebuilding not just our marriage, but my own sense of self-worth. And yet, despite my efforts, the question of forgiveness loomed large. Could I truly let go of the past and embrace a future with her? Or was the betrayal too great to overcome? The answer eluded me, shifting with the tides of my emotions. Some days, I felt a glimmer of hope, a belief that we could emerge stronger from the ashes of our broken trust. Other days, the pain was too raw, too overwhelming to ignore. As I grappled with these questions, I realized that forgiveness was not a single act, but a journey. It required time, effort, and a willingness to confront the darkness within myself. And while I wasn't sure if I was ready to fully forgive her, I knew that holding on to anger and resentment would only prolong my suffering. So, I took small steps toward letting go, toward finding peace within myself. Our story was far from over. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and opportunities for growth. But one thing was clear: we were both changed by the events that had transpired. Whether those changes would bring us closer together or drive us further apart remained to be seen. For now, we stood at a crossroads, two souls searching for redemption in the wake of betrayal. And as we faced the unknown, I held on to the hope that, no matter what the future held, I would emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. But even as I tried to move forward, the shadows of doubt lingered. My mind constantly replayed the events of that night, the messages, the deceit. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw her walking out of our home, her excitement an unmistakable betrayal. How could I forget, let alone forgive? The nights became my battleground. Restless and haunted by thoughts of her infidelity, I would pace the floors of our home, trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered trust. The very walls seemed to echo her betrayal, their silence a mockery of the love we once shared. I found myself drawn to the evidence I had uncovered, as if revisiting it would somehow provide clarity. But it only deepened my despair. She, on the other hand, seemed determined to erase the past. Her efforts to reconnect grew more desperate, her gestures more extravagant. She planned surprise dates, wrote heartfelt letters, and even suggested a vow renewal ceremony. But each attempt only served to highlight the chasm between us. Her actions, though earnest, felt like mere band-aids on a wound too deep to heal. That I began to question my own resolve. Was I holding on to the pain out of a sense of justice? Or was it fear that kept me from moving on? Fear of vulnerability, of opening myself up to the possibility of being hurt again? The lines blurred, and I found myself trapped in a cycle of anger and self-pity that in an effort to break free, I sought solace outside our marriage. Not in the arms of another, but in the company of those who understood my pain. I joined support groups where others shared their stories of betrayal and healing. Their resilience inspired me, their journeys a testament to the power of forgiveness and self-love. Slowly, I began to see a glimmer of hope, a path toward healing that didn't rely on her or our fractured marriage. But as I grew stronger, her desperation grew. She begged me to attend therapy sessions with her, to give our relationship one last chance. Reluctantly, I agreed, not out of hope, but out of a sense of duty to the life we had built together. The sessions were raw, unfiltered, and often painful. They forced us to confront truths we had long buried, to peel back the layers of our pain and examine the wounds beneath. Through these sessions, I learned that her betrayal was not just about me. It was a reflection of her own insecurities, her struggles with identity and self-worth. Understanding this didn't excuse her actions, but it provided context, a framework within which I could begin to process my pain. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the walls I had built began to crack. Rebuilding trust was a slow, arduous process. Each step forward felt like a gamble, a leap of faith into the unknown. There were setbacks, moments of doubt that threatened to undo our progress. But there were also moments of genuine connection, glimmers of the love we had once shared. These moments, though fleeting, gave me the strength to keep going. As the months turned into years, the pain of her betrayal began to fade. It didn't disappear entirely, but it no longer defined our relationship. We learned to navigate the complexities of our new reality, to find a balance between the past and the present. And though the scars remained, they served as reminders of our resilience, our ability to endure and adapt, did I end time. I found myself facing a choice. To hold on to the anger and resentment that had become my armor, or to let go and embrace the possibility of a new beginning. It wasn't an easy decision, nor was it one I made lightly. But in the end, I chose to forgive, not for her sake, but for mine. Forgiveness was not a gift I gave her, but a liberation I granted myself. Our marriage was not the same as it once was. It couldn't be, but it was stronger in its own way, tempered by the trials we had endured. We had faced the depths of betrayal and emerged on the other side, scarred but unbroken. And in that resilience, we found a new kind of love, one that was imperfect but real. The journey was far from over, but we faced it together with a newfound determination to honor the lessons we had learned. And as we walked hand in hand into the future, I knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them with the strength and courage that had brought us this far.